Hey, there we are. Good
Here
evening,
we are.
everyone. State Representative Brad Halbrook here, along with State Reps Dan Calkins and Chris Miller. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening. Good evening. What a beautiful, nice, rainy, cool Sunday evening. Knocked the humidity down. We got a little breeze and a little rain. What a beautiful night.
Happy Mother's Day,
Thank
Chris,
you. Thank you.
Dan.
Well, thank you. We had a lot of mothers at my house today with lots of children, so it was a pretty lively event.
Yeah, well, there's this push to call them birthing persons, but hey, here's a little fun fact for you, gentlemen, that everyone that's ever been alive has been born to a female.
Over 8 billion annually.
How many annually?
Over 8 billion. I can't remember the exact number, but it's over 8 billion annually. Then they are all born to women. It's incredible
Right, it is.
how biology actually works every time it's tried.
Trust the
Really?
science. Trust the science.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we get a fact check on that?
Yeah. Hey, fact check me. I'm fine with that. That's
Okay.
great.
All right. Look at, maybe the New York Times will fact check us, or the Chicago Trib, or somebody. We'll get us fact check.
Well,
That's
welcome everyone to your safer, smarter Sunday night alternative to what's out there, and we are continuing this relentless pursuit of truth, logic, and common sense. So it's been a busy week, gentlemen, in Springfield. 5 days to go.
It has, and I know that we are the poster children for Ronald Reagan's famous statement that the most terrifying words to the American citizen is, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help you."
Yeah.
when you think about what's been going on in Springfield, especially the last couple of weeks, that brings new meaning to that quotation from our dearly beloved president of the past.
I'm going to ask one of our staff tomorrow to compile a list of every new mandate we put on the insurance companies in Illinois. I mean, it just seems like every other hour there's a new mandate for something. They're mandated coverage for ingrown toenails and mandated coverage. I mean, it's just, we have I don't remember ever having gone through this in the last few years, but we're mandating the insurance companies cover everything. And it's not free. I mean,
when I talk,
go ahead.
When I talk to my constituents and ask them if there's anything that we can do for them, consistently they're going, no. They said, please just leave us alone.
Yeah.
Don't do anything. But it just seems like, exactly what you're saying is they just can't help, but they just want to make life harder for people in business in Illinois. It doesn't matter whether it's insurance companies or whoever it is. It's just more regulations, more rules, more stuff that people, everyday citizens don't care about.
Right.
And a higher cost of living. I mean, that's right. one of the things that drives people out of this state is the cost of living here. The high taxes, now the high electricity, utilities, the bad roads. Companies are leaving because of regulation, which means the jobs are leaving. There's no work. We just keep piling on. We just keep piling on.
Right.
Government's too big. I'm teasing. I'm teasing your clip.
Speaking of the clip, I'm going to give everybody about 20 seconds to get the little ones out of the room.
Move your children.
Move your children. Cover their ears. Cover their eyes. But this is one of our colleagues.
Yeah, and if you're a Democrat listening to this, you might want to move away. You might want to just step aside for a second.
You could be triggered.
You might be.
So this is the debate. I believe it was on SB 1909, right, about the pro-life centers, the pregnancy resource centers, and This is Representative Kelly Cassidy, and
Is
someone.
this the closing? Are these closing remarks?
I don't know if it was
Part of her-
closing. Yeah, it might be the closing for somebody. So anyhow, hey, without further ado, let's just get it out there, and then we'll come back and discuss it. Here we go.
But to hear my colleagues from the party of government small enough to fit in my uterus.
Wow. The stuff we have to deal with on the House floor, gentlemen. It's just stunning.
I mean, first of all, it's very inappropriate, but she doesn't care. She's very crude, very far left. The trauma that she suffered in her life has severely affected her intellect. Compassion is just something that we don't see out of her. But I guess if you really think about what she said, we are really the party of small government. I mean, it's almost, it's offensive what she said, but the truth of the matter is, yes, we want smaller government. Leave us alone. Quit it. But, that's typical. People have seen that. We'll see it. And, they'll brush it under the rug. It's inappropriate. But we're, there we sit.
We probably ought to give a little attention to SB 1909 because it was extremely egregious. And do you have any more thoughts on that, Dan or Brad?
Well, it's going to limit some level of free speech. There's no doubt about it, right? Sidewalk counseling could be in jeopardy. What was their deal? Misinformation or a deceptive practice?
The party of deceptive practices. It's what they are.
Right.
As we saw on the House floor time and time again last week. But yeah, and it's going to be up to a left-wing radical abortionist attorney general to interpret what are they, case by case, step by step, slowly I creep up on you.
But in essence, the only option that is available to these women is to kill their babies, according to SB 1909, because they want to shut down the freedom of speech and the ability to give. What they're trying to do is limit women from having all of the information. And I know that that's one of these crisis pregnancy centers. What they want to do is allow women to receive enough information that they can make an informed decision with all the information that's available. And they are adamantly opposed to allowing a woman to see a sonogram, because I think that, I think it's over 80% of women, they actually see a sonogram, they don't terminate their pregnancy. And so they are hell bent on keeping that information disclosed, and they're trying to qualify this by saying that these people are giving misinformation, which is misinformation.
Right.
Well, they won't tell you though, Chris. They won't tell you what is misinformation. That's
right.
We asked 12 very pointed questions in committee. The same very pointed questions were asked in the hearing, on the House floor, and there's no definition. It's all emotions, and we heard a speech from one of our members who talked about how his mother died when he was 8 from complications because she wasn't able to get, I don't know what, in Illinois. It's just terrible. The crisis pregnancy centers are there for a reason. No one is ever forced to go there. They're a resource that's available to women. And if they decide they want to carry their child to term, they're there to comfort them and be with them and help support them with this new baby. Our New Life Pregnancy Center here in Decatur bought a house and rehabbed it for mothers who needed some place to go
Mhm.
to learn how to take care of a baby. And you know, it's life affirming. And
Yeah.
you know, when the only choice is Planned Parenthood, I don't know what they put out their annual report just recently, and it seems to me they were bragging about having done almost 400,000 abortions last year in 2022. I'll have to go back and get the actual numbers, but it's astonishing what they do.
Mhm. So here was one of the bullet points. It says this act would make pregnancy resource centers and sidewalk advocates civilly liable for deceptive acts or practice for any concealment, suppression, or omission of a material fact. What this means is that the pro-life pregnancy resource centers could be liable for refusing to provide a woman with instructions on how to obtain an abortion, even if it violates the individual's conscience.
Yeah.
And there was a
Yeah.
lot of discussion kind of trying to pin this down, just exactly what this meant. And the response was, well, it would be on a case-by-case basis with the Attorney General.
Right. And in committee, I watched that committee hearing, and the attorney from the Attorney General's office would not answer any of those questions,
Mhm.
except to say, well, it's a case-by-case basis.
Mhm.
So if one person in a crisis pregnancy center doesn't tell an expectant mother that she could have an abortion, and another caseworker in another crisis pregnancy center doesn't tell an expectant mother that there's an option for an abortion, one of them could be cited.
Mhm.
Somebody could cite one of them, and it doesn't have to be the person getting the advice. It could be somebody in the community who has absolutely no firsthand knowledge of what is being said, how these people are being treated.
Right.
I mean, I hope the Thomas More Society, and I firmly believe that they will be very successful in, again, suing the state of Illinois. Us, our taxpayers, are going to pay to defend this bill, this law, when the governor signs it with great fanfare, I'm sure.
Right.
You know, and so we're suing ourselves for something that is totally unnecessary, irresponsible, and unconstitutional.
Well, and this is, again, just to add on to your point, Dan, this is further proof to where the majority party in Illinois and across this nation in the White House, they don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about the
Right.
rule of law. They're just going to say, look, you know, in the case
Yeah.
of Illinois, the Attorney General is paid for by the taxpayers of Illinois. So if you think, you know, if you want to sue the state of Illinois, well, they've got unlimited resources, 700-800 attorneys there in the AG's office. And so individual citizens have to pony up, you know, or team up with a Thomas More Society or whatever to get this law overturned. It's insanity. But, you know, I don't know how we live in a civil society when you handle situations, complaints, case by case. The Attorney General, one elected official, can make the determination. How do you do that? How's that work out?
Steve Wright, I made some very, very strong points in the debate. When you pass a law, the law has to have guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
So when you pass a law that says that the speed limit is 70 miles an hour,
Right.
and if you go over the speed limit, these are the penalties. And at this point, this is the penalty. And at that point, and at that point, that's the penalty. And that's what a law is. It's got guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
This law, when it becomes a law, there are no guidelines. There are no guardrails. There is nothing to tell anyone what law they're breaking other than the personal opinion of the Attorney General. Now, who was?
But
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that that's part of the reason why they didn't want to give any examples or illustrate anything, because they want basically all this will be is an intimidation factor to try to get people to sit down and shut up and not rock for fear of facing a lawsuit or litigation. That's all this is. Otherwise, they would have given specific cited examples. This is what this law means. This what gives this law teeth. But they were unwilling to do that, so that all that ends up being is just intimidation.
Right. Who was it? Was it? I can't remember. Joseph Stalin that said, "Show me the person, and I'll show you the crime."
Yeah, that was exactly right. Yeah. And that's an example of what this is. Show me the person, I'll show you the crime.
Yeah.
You know,
whatever the Attorney General thinks on that particular day.
Yep. Well, this is another example of, you know, how it defies truth, it defies common sense, and it defies logic, because you can't live in a civil society and govern that way or rule that way. That's just not going to work out very well.
No.
So, yeah.
Well, I think that there were some other things that came up also this week besides 1909 that were, you know, kind of one of those really moments in SB 1526, where it forces IDOT to create a brand new app that already exists to tell you the road conditions, and it will cost around approximately $2 million to set this up. And then they're predicting it will cost $800,000 to $1 million a year to manage this app that already exists. And you know, and like you say, that government's too big now, and we're creating a whole new level of bureaucracy that already exists. We're doubling up. We're spending more taxpayers' money on something that is completely unnecessary. And in the discussion on this bill, there was really no discussion, because they were going to do this come hell or high water, whether it made any sense or not, because it's absolutely nonsensical to another whatever you want to call it, level of government to do something the private sector is already doing, and doing it very well, actually.
Yeah.
Well, IDOT already does it.
Right.
Drive Illinois. I mean, you can go on there and get road conditions. You can go on the IDOT and they have a map, and when there's weather and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's got road closings due to weather. It's got road closings due to bridges. It's got it all on there. It is a mobile application also. And the private sector with Google or Waze, or maybe, I don't know if there's any others, but those are two that I have access to. I don't know. There's probably others. I guess Apple has a map program, right? And it's got the road closures. Yeah. I mean, anytime traffic is slowing down, closed, it's showing up on there.
Yeah.
And even
well, they probably won't put the radar.
Speed trap.
Yeah, they won't put that on the Illinois one.
They're gonna.
But and who's going to use it? People driving around Illinois. I mean, people coming from Indiana, Ohio, Tennessee, they don't know what that is. They're not looking for the Illinois map.
No.
To get to Wisconsin.
No.
Yeah, they're going to be on Google.
No. They'll be on their Google map or on their car, display with the maps in the car, OnStar or whatever it is that, that these car companies have installed. So, if you're coming from Georgia and you're trying to get to Minnesota, you're not going to switch over to this thing in Illinois.
Well,
our Democrat friends.
You guys want to hit a couple of these other ones?
Yeah, let's do it quickly. Yeah.
HB 218, where they're making it harder for gun shops to stay in business, making their job harder. That's another thing that's just maddening.
I have a question about that bill.
Yes.
Because that bill is a tort. It says that if a guns manufacturer or retail establishment advertises in such a way to encourage people to buy a gun or I don't know what it was. They say insurrection or something. They use some term, commit crimes. The biggest, I guess, advertising or reason people are buying guns is Governor Pritzker. So can he be held liable? Can we go after him for making this environment such that people feel like they have to buy guns? I mean, is he the first guy we're going to go to?
I think that's an excellent idea, Dan, because I know I have purchased several guns based on who got elected to public office, whether it be the president or governor or whoever. They have definitely been a catalyst for gun buying.
Yeah. I mean, you don't need advertisement when these guys are out pushing policies that create fear and anxiety, and people, all of a sudden all these criminals they let out on the streets, and somebody drives up to your house and knocks on the door in the middle of the night. You don't know if they're asking for directions or help, or they're trying to break in and steal your stuff. And it's all because of Governor Pritzker and the Democrats and their policies. I've got to find a trial lawyer that'll help me with this. There's got to be maybe Hoffman, maybe Representative Hoffman. Yeah,
I know.
He can come up.
Numerous
we'll get him
times
to come up to McLean County, Brad, and help me with this.
Yeah, there you go. I know numerous times in the past, after the 2008 election, after the 2012 election, gun shops after those elections say, "Hey, you guys need to have elections more often because it's really good for gun business."
Yeah, they don't have to advertise.
And it's like, I mean, these guys, they win the Democrats win these elections, right? And really all it does is it just spurs gun sales off the charts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that I have several guns that are in the box that have never been shot just because they were on the threatening list to be banned. And so, of course, that's the first thing I did is I went out and bought 2 or 3 of them.
Well, and the founding fathers knew it, right? That's why we have the Second Amendment, to protect us from a tyrannical government. And so we got to figure out, people got to figure out where their rights come from. And it doesn't come from government.
I have none.
Yeah. Boating accident. They all went in the pond. So
somebody's going to dredge Lake Shelbyville and come up with it. We'll all be liars.
Yeah. Wow. Well, anyhow, Chris, what other bill you got to want to talk about? You got anything else?
We had HB 1596, where it restricts the use of terms boy and girl. Now imagine how innovative that is.
Yeah. Well, you can't call anybody boy anymore. Man.
Well,
wow,
of course not.
You get sued. Yeah, but men and women. Hey, have we seen the bathroom bill yet? It came out of committee. I was just sitting here when you mentioned that, the gender neutral bathroom. Did that ever get out of the House?
Yeah, I thought it passed out of the House early before back there before Palm. So I think that one passed out of the House, but we've not seen. I don't know if there's a Senate version of that.
Yeah, it passed because I remember it was the day that Carol Ammons walked up there and we offered to let her have a bathroom tour of the men's bathroom. Yeah. She didn't take us up on.
She wasn't happy. No.
Yeah.
Oh, she wasn't happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we had that. We called cats and penalty. The big one that real heavy lifting was when they made it illegal to pet bears. That was a big deal.
I found that one. Evidently, there's traveling zoos or traveling animal shows that you can get your picture taken with a bear or a monkey. And now they're on the way to making that illegal. I'm like, I didn't even know there was such a thing. But
they used to have wrestling. Didn't you used to be able to, these guys that you go wrestle a bear?
I think so. Basically, what they've done is they've outlawed circuses in Illinois, but nobody bothered to notify the General Assembly. That's the biggest circus in the state. I think.
No.
Yeah.
Just a casual passing comment.
That is a circus. Well, guys, we got 5 days left. We're due to adjourn Friday sometime, May 19th. I hope May 20th doesn't turn into an extended May 19th on Saturday, but we've seen this happen before that we run into the wee hours. I think there was at Lame Duck or the fall veto session. We were there till 6:30 one Saturday morning. Had started about late morning, 11:30, and it went all afternoon and into the evening.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
through
That
the wee
was
hours.
that was the lame duck that when they decided to get rid of Madigan.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Yeah.
came back early the next morning, and the Dems were in caucus. We got there at 8 o'clock, and they didn't come out of caucus until 10:30.
Yeah.
And we had been there that night until 2 something.
Yeah.
And that was because I drove home and turned around and drove back to be there. And then we sat and waited for them to come out of their caucus. Wasn't that in the Bank of Springfield Center?
Yes.
Where they were
Yeah,
down
that
in the
one was, but
basement?
there was one this winter that we were there till 6:30 or last fall. I don't remember. Yeah, that
Right.
was 2 years ago, and then there was another 6 or 6:30. I think that was last spring we did that. That was the April the 8th. We were to adjourn before Palm Sunday. That's when that was. That was a year ago.
Yeah.
They were trying to get us out of there real early, and it went until 6 or 6:30 in the morning of the 9th of April. And boy, that was, yeah. Of course, they show up late, right? And then they go into caucus for 3-4 hours, and they don't come back to the floor till 5, 6 o'clock at night.
Right.
And then they want to do business all night long into the wee hours. And then they shove all that, you've heard this before, they shove all that bad stuff through at 10, 11, 12, 1 a.m. It's crazy.
Speaking of that, what time are we going back tomorrow? I haven't heard.
4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
4, okay. I knew it was to be announced, but I didn't hear the announcement.
Yeah, 4 o'clock's what I'm hearing. So anyhow,
Okay.
all right.
So they won't be back. They won't be back by 4 o'clock.
No, I know they won't. Nobody will be there because don't they? Isn't the inauguration tomorrow night with the mayor?
Yeah. Tomorrow noon, I think, or 11. I don't know what it is, but they'll all be downtown Chicago.
Okay.
So now you have to go find your car and drive out of Chicago and then drive 2.5 hours to Springfield.
All right.
We at 5:30, I don't know. Then what are we going to do?
Are you suggesting we aren't going to start on time?
We'd start on time every time. We just don't know whose time it is.
We don't know whether it's Mountain Time or West Coast.
Pacific,
Right.
Pacific time,
Yeah.
Hawaii. Very disrespectful. It is. It's disrespectful of other people.
Yeah, I always say, why punish the prompt?
Exactly.
Right.
Hey, gentlemen, let's wrap this up. We're bumping up 29 minutes here. Dan, any closing thoughts before we shut this down and head into this busy week of doing the people's business in Springfield?
Yeah. I will get a link posted and share it with all of you. We are in the Illinois Supreme Court at 10:30 on Tuesday on our Second Amendment bill or law, challenging the governor's team is challenging our victory here in Macon County. So that'll be Tuesday, 10:30 is when it starts. So I'll get something up just as soon as I get a link and everybody can listen in.
Exactly. Good stuff. Chris, any closing comments?
I just wanted to thank my good friends here, Brad and Dan, for hopping on this evening and bringing a little light to all the murkiness that's in the state of Illinois. Another thing too is that we're going to have a special guest on our Tuesday night town hall, which you may want to tune into. But Jaco Boyan is going to be on with us to talk about the invasion on the southern border, sex trafficking, and all of the different criminal elements that are coming across our border as we are allowing criminals from 162 different countries to invade our southern border. And literally it's a coup on our country with at least the current count is over 7 million illegals or someplace who knows where in the USA, and then a lot of unsavory characters, MS-13, gang members, you name it, it's in here, and it is extremely concerning. We're going to be talking about that on Tuesday night with our special guest, so you may want to tune into that time, 7 p.m. on Tuesday.
Yeah, and Chris, you've known Yaco for a while. I think Dan and I, we just heard him last fall for the first time. Unless Dan, you'd seen him or heard him before, I guess maybe, I don't know. But he's well versed on this business of sex trafficking and the invasion and all of that. So it's going to be worth your time to be there Tuesday night to listen to Mr. Boyens and how his take and his expertise on this very, very, very important matter as we are continuing to get overrun by the invasion on the south border.
Yeah.
All right. With that, guys, we always covet that you will like and share and follow and subscribe to our content and to help us to overcome the algorithmic gods of the big tech overlords. And so with that,
they don't like us.
Yeah.
That's exactly. A mouthful. That's a mouthful. I'm always impressed when you get through that.
Join the Freedom Caucus. Join the Freedom Caucus. Help us keep this going.
IllinoisFreedomCaucus.org. And with that, we'll pop up the out video and it'll have the website on there. And with that, guys, have a good evening and we'll talk to you on Tuesday night.